This is Pastor Bill Croto from Buck Valley Christian Church. I know we're live streaming about an hour earlier than we normally do, but that's because I have a Zoom meeting at 6 o'clock tonight, and I wanted to make sure we get this in for you all this evening. Just a couple of reminders, particularly for Thursday. Thursday is the National Day of Prayer. I would encourage you to, as you focus your thoughts on praying for our nation on Thursday, go on, visit our Buck Valley Christian Church Facebook page, and on that you will find a document that lists 10 kind of prayer points to kind of focus our prayer for Thursday during National Day of Prayer. And then to kind of focus a little bit more, I will be live streaming a time of prayer at 9 a.m. and at 12 noon, and then again at our normal 6:30 time together on Thursday evening. You can certainly join us if you want. I don't want to. Nobody, certainly has to join us all three. Even though you're certainly welcome to if you want to. We'd love to have you as part of that. As I was sitting here thinking this evening, since I started doing these live streams, there are a lot of people who know a lot about me now who I don't know at all. People that have been watching every night and so forth. Some people that I've never met before ever. In fact, some of you I have spoken to on the phone, and that's been a real privilege and a treat to do that. Some I've texted, and some have reached out versus with Messenger and so forth. But in any case, I so appreciate just the opportunity to be into your homes in this fashion, and to have you as part of what we're doing on our live stream each evening. And then this weekend, don't forget, Sunday is Mother's Day, Mother's Day 2020. Obviously, it's going to be a very different Mother's Day than in past years, but we've got a couple special things that we're planning for our live stream service on Sunday. You're going to want to tune in for just a special time there. For my message on Sunday morning, we're going to be dealing with really what I would consider 10 characteristics of a godly mother from what I've seen in my own mothers, my own mother, my mother-in-law, my wife, and really a lot of you guys. I've seen these characteristics in a lot of each one of you. So you're going to want to be part of that worship service on Sunday morning via live stream as we go. And above all else, if you forget to view our live stream, do not forget to say Happy Mother's Day to your mother on Sunday. That is of paramount importance there. For tonight, we're going to be in 1 Chronicles chapter 4. We're going to be dealing with what's commonly referred to as the prayer of Jabez. Jabez was a really an unknown character in the Old Testament. We know very little about him. In 1 Chronicles chapter 4, we see a series of genealogies written down here, and this section is particularly the genealogy of Judah, of the tribe of Judah, and when it comes down the very last, or toward the end, or well, actually right in the middle, I guess, of this list of genealogies, there's one person that stands out right in the middle, and that's Jabez, and this is all we know about him. Verse 9 says this. And Jabez was more honorable than his brethren. As the oldest of a family of 7 brothers, I would love nothing better. Well, maybe my mom did say I was more honorable than all my brother. I don't know. But that would be a worthy thing to strive to. But that's what we know about Jabez. And Jabez was more honorable than his brother. And his mother called him Jabez, saying, because I bear him with sorrow. Apparently, she was going through some sort of sorrow in her life. When he was born, kind of indicated that he was that his birth helped her to overcome sorrow. And then notice we get into this prayer that Jabez prays. And there really are 4 parts to this prayer that as we look to the National Day of Prayer here in a little bit, in a couple days, that I think even further helps us to define and narrow our focus on the National Day of Prayer. It says, and Jabez called on the Lord, on the God of Israel, saying, and this is what he said, this is the 4 parts of his prayer, saying, oh, that thou wouldst bless me. Okay, now we need to think of this in terms of the spiritual, okay? So he's not asking here that God bless him materially, but he's asking God to bless him in the spiritual realm, okay, in the ministry realm, if you will. Okay, so asking God to bless his ministry. He says, oh, that thou wouldst bless me indeed. Okay, so that's the first thing. He's asking God to bless his ministry so that he can have an effective ministry for Jesus Christ. And that's as Christians, that really should be the prayer for each one of us, that God blesses our ministry, that God blesses our ministry to the area. When I came down here to Buck Valley, to pastor here in Buck Valley, I didn't ask God to enrich me materially or bless me physically or materially, but I asked God to bless the ministry down here, and through by extension to help me to be a blessing to other people, because when God's blessing the ministry, then I can be an encouragement and a blessing to others. And then notice what he says, the second thing he asks God for. He says, and enlarge my coast. That may seem kind of like a strange saying there, but really what he's praying for is for God to increase his influence. One of the things that we have been praying for is that God would increase our influence, that God would increase, would kind of enlarge our footprint, would allow us to have as big a footprint for him as we possibly could. Now, we didn't know that God would answer that prayer by sending a pandemic so that we would be forced to live stream, but he did. Now that's not the only reason that the pandemic is here, so I don't want anybody to take that away, that I believe that. But in a very real sense, God did answer that prayer in allowing us to have a bigger footprint, if you will, a bigger a field, if you will. And that's a pretty noble prayer on Jabez's part. He doesn't want God to enlarge his footprint just so he can become wealthier. He doesn't want God to enlarge his footprint just so he can become more famous or well known. He's praying for God to enlarge his footprint so that he can have a bigger witness for Jesus Christ. So he can have a bigger impact for Jesus Christ. So that's number 2. The third thing that Jabez prays here, he says, and that thine hand might be with me. See, Jabez understood that there's no way that he was going to be able to enlarge that God was going to enlarge his coast if God wasn't with him. And that goes for all of us as we seek ways, if we seek out ways to have a bigger impact for Jesus Christ in our community, as we seek out ways to have a bigger impact for Jesus Christ in our workplace, that is not going to happen in our own strength. That is, in fact, not going to happen without God's hand on us. And that's really what Jabez was praying there. That that God blesses him so that he can enlarge his coast or his footprint, and God was going to have to be with him as he does that. And then he says, "And that thou wouldst keep me from evil." He's praying now that the Lord keeps away those temptations, that the Lord helps him overcome those temptations. You know, as I look at this idea of enlarging footprints, there's a lot of temptations that come along with that. I already shared one, the temptation for fame. You know, after a while, they can kind of go to your head a little bit sometimes, and some people don't deal well with that. If God all of a sudden enlarges their footprint exponentially, and then it kind of goes to their head a little bit, and that's a temptation that they have to overcome. Or financial gain, and so forth, and then he wraps up this verse here, that it grieve not me, and then I think we really see the character of Jabez in the very last line of this verse. It simply says, "And God granted him that which he requested." We see in that the character of this man that says, "And Jabez was more honorable than his brother." We see the character of this man manifest in the fact that God granted him that which he requested. You know, as I was sitting here kind of thinking through this, particularly this idea of God enlarging his footprint and asking God to be with him, one of the ways that God is with us is he keeps our testimony clean. You know, you've heard me refer before to the fact that this sign right in back of me, which says, "First I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all, because your faith is being proclaimed throughout the whole world." And I've shared with you before that that I keep that there as a reminder to me. Is my faith known even on my street here? Am I known for my faith on my street, or am I known instead for my vehicle, or am I known for my generosity, or am I known for my material possessions? And one of the ways that our witness, that God blesses our witness, is if our witness is that we're faithful, to God. As I was kind of studying over this passage, I ran across this quote by Bruce Wilkerson. Bruce Wilkerson actually did a significant study on the prayer of Jabez a number of years ago. And he quoted this quote that I thought was really kind of profound when it comes to this idea of enlarging our footprint and asking God to enlarge our field so that we can proclaim his word. This is the quote. He said, "Attempt something large enough that failure is guaranteed." Think about that for a minute. Attempt something large enough that failure is guaranteed, unless God steps in. You know, oftentimes when we start something for God, oftentimes when we kind of start a ministry for God or step out in faith to minister for God, we start just small enough so that if we fail, it's not going to hurt that bad. And that's not what Jabez is praying here. You know, oftentimes we kind of just think small enough so that if something happens, if we fail, we're not going to look bad. But that's not what Jabez is praying here. He's praying, God, enlarge my field. Only you can do it. This idea of attempting something large enough that failure is guaranteed. Because if failure isn't guaranteed, guess who you rely on? You. If failure isn't guaranteed and we're successful, we tend to say, look what I did. If failure isn't, if we think small and failure isn't guaranteed so that we can kind of start in baby steps, so to speak, we tend to focus on ourselves. We tend to focus on what I did, unless God steps in. Let me challenge you on Thursday as you're praying for our nation. Pray for something large enough that failure is going to be guaranteed, unless God steps in. Pray for a revival in our country like you've never seen before, that you know that only God could have done it. And that's when we see God come shining through, without a doubt. Let's pray tonight. Father, I thank you for this evening. I thank you for this model of this prayer of Jabez. I thank you for Jabez's testimony, Lord. Lord, here's a man who it says was more honorable than those around him. Lord, what a testament, what a testimony for this man of God. And Lord, what a testimony that the simple declaration at the end of his prayer is that you honored his request. Lord, you honored his request to expand his footprint, to enlarge his coast, to enlarge his area of influence. And Lord, I pray that each one watching tonight, that you enlarge their sphere of influence in their lives, Lord. Lord, I pray that you enlarge the influences that they have in their homes. Lord, I pray that you enlarge the influences they have in their communities and their workplace, Lord. And Lord, be with them as you enlarge their sphere of influence, Lord. Be with them as you enlarge their coast, Lord. Lord, as we prepare for Thursday and praying for our nation, Lord, I pray that I'm praying for something so marvelous to happen in our nation that when it happens, we can only look and say, God, thank you for what you did, because we could have never done this. Lord, I'm praying for Buck Valley and Woffordsburg, Lord. Lord, I'm praying for such a revival to happen here in this area of the country, Lord, in this area of Pennsylvania and Maryland and West Virginia, Lord, that at the end of the day, we can only look back and say, God, look what you did. Lord, there's nothing we could have done to do that, but Lord, you enlarged our area of influence, Lord. Lord, thank you for your goodness tonight. In your wonderful name, amen. I appreciate each one of you joining our live stream tonight. We will be back tomorrow evening at 6:30, and then Thursday we've got the National Day of Prayer, and then the weekend coming up with Mother's Day. We appreciate each one of you. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and I look forward to meeting each one of you someday, hopefully. All right? Have a great evening.